It's 4 o'clock, Thursday, December 11th, and I'm calling the Environmental Advisory Committee to order. And I want to acknowledge that the press and public were duly notified of the meeting in accordance with the Freedom of Information Act. And our first order would be to approve the previous meeting's minutes. Were there any changes? No? Can I have a motion then that, any comments? No? Can I have a motion then that we?
I move that the meetings be accepted as written.
In a second?
And I second the motion.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, great, thank you. And we don't.
So just for the record, Katie and Cindy are here on Zoom.
Oh, they are?
You all can hear okay? And Katie, can you hear everything?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, we've got you in the room. Thank you.
Do we have citizens' comments?
No.
No? Okay. Then we're going to move to our presentation from the South Carolina Aquarium for their Sea Rise and also their Red Line projects. We have Sarah and Aubrey. Thanks for coming, y'all.
Thank you for having us, and happy almost holidays. My name is Sarah McDonald. I'm the Vice President of Conservation for the South Carolina Aquarium, and this is my colleague, Aubrey Anthony. He is our Resilience Coordinator. So we're here, and we're excited to talk to you about our Resilience Initiative for Community Engagement, or our RICE program. But a little bit of background first. I mentioned I'm the Vice President of Conservation. Our conservation department works beyond the walls of the aquarium in the community. So I always say we work for the aquarium, not at the aquarium, because we don't even have an office at the aquarium. Our offices are in the Maritime Center, just next door to the International African American Museum. But we spend most of our time doing things like this, talking to different community members. And the principal tool that we use with our community engagement is citizen science. And I think normally I ask, hey, who knows what citizen science means? But I think y'all are familiar with one of our citizen science projects, which is called the Litter Journal. And it's basically a litter tracker. It's a way for everyday people to collect data on the location and types of litter. And we work very closely with the Isle of Palms cleanup crew for our Monday litter sweeps. We just had the freezing cold litter sweep, the last one of the year, this last Monday. But the one I'm going to talk to you about, the project I'm going to talk to you about today is called Sea Rise. Citizen science in general empowers everyday people to collect data to have solutions-based conversations. So our Sea Rise project allows people to photo document flooding, beach erosion, salt marsh and tree die-off, high water marks, as well as restoration projects. And it does that through allowing people to photo document this information. So it's basically a resource for photos and data documenting these things. I'm going to mostly focus on flooding because that's really what we're mostly here to talk about. But also I know that IOP experiences beach erosion as well. And so this is a great tool to document beach erosion in addition to flooding. And what's really great is when you add an observation, not only does it document your photos of the flooding and your location and the date and the time, as long as you turn on your location and those preferences. It also immediately contacts the nearest NOAA buoy that is the closest to your location, and it downloads all of that environmental information. So that includes things like air temperature, air pressure, water depth, water temperature. This is information that a lot of modelers who use these data automatically, they do have access to the NOAA buoy data, but this puts it in a one-stop shop, which is really great and super helpful. And it allows you to collect photos, but also you can measure water depth, and there's an opportunity for you to enter the water depth. If you don't know the water depth and you can't measure it, we don't want you to enter it, but there is a field for that. There's also a field at the bottom for field notes. And one of the things that we do is we have something called a refractometer. A refractometer is a really old school way of measuring salinity. And salinity is a really important thing to measure and associate with each observation, because you want to know what kind of flooding you're looking at or experiencing. Is it sunny day flooding? Like, that's a picture of Aubrey taking a picture. I do that all the time. It's a little meta there. But that's sunny day flooding. So obviously that's going to be very salty water. The picture on the right is taken during a rainstorm. So oftentimes that might be just fresh water, or we have certain locations that experience compound flooding. So it's locations that have sunny day flooding or tidal flooding, and also experience flooding from stormwater runoff. So that might be sort of a middle, it may be not quite salty and not quite fresh, so brackish type of water. So, and as you can see in these two photos, you can see these signs. We call these our flooded signs, and Aubrey is demonstrating. We have one, we have two, we have a sign here in person, we have a top and a bottom. The very top of the sign has a QR code for you to download the Citizen Science app and join the project. It has instructions on how to do that. The bottom part is a ruler. And so what these signs do is they serve multiple purposes. The first is they are an awareness raising tool. You know, we're an aquarium, we like to raise awareness about things. So they raise awareness about where flooding might be. So it might be dry and you see a sign that says flooded with a bright yellow ruler. It's a good indication that there's flooding that occurs in this location, whether it's sunny day flooding or stormwater or some combination thereof. So it's a great awareness raising tool for visitors, for people who are maybe not familiar with the areas that flood on a regular basis. But it also allows people who are using the CRISE project to collect data, which when we say collect data, we mean to take photographs in a very consistent way. When we talk to flood modelers, they want people to enter very specific information. So I'm standing on the southwest corner of Street X and Avenue Y, and I'm looking northeast. Nobody is going to do that, right? We're talking about people who are out there and they want to do a quick upload, take a snapshot, and be done with their lives. So this allows for consistent data collection. We know what direction you're facing, and we know where that sign is exactly located. So we know the orientation as well. And the other great thing is it automatically measures the water depth for you. So you can, by reading the water depth on the sign, and in this case, it looks like 10 inches, then you can just enter 10 in the data, and you're very confident about how deep that water is, where that sign is located. So it's a tool. It's not necessary. We want photos of flooding irrespective of whether or not there is a sign at that location, but it does incentivize people to take those photographs in those locations, and it's helpful. So something else that we do, because oftentimes, and everybody takes flooding photos, right? Who here has not taken a flooding photo? Right. So this actually then it allows you to collect a place to store your flooding photos that contribute toward solutions-based conversations rather than just having flooding photos on your phone. But it's a pretty solitary activity, right? You're out there, you're either walking somewhere, or it's behind your house, or maybe it's near your place of work, or by a school, and you're just doing it all by yourself. You're taking the picture and you're moving on with your life. So we do something that is a community building activity, and they're called CRISE strolls. Now, these only occur during king tides, because that's when those are predictable. We can't really do a CRISE stroll during a big rainstorm, because we don't necessarily know when those are going to occur, and they're kind of spotty, right? It could be pouring down rain on the peninsula and it's not raining here at all. So we can't plan for one of these, but we can plan for these at different times of the year during the predicted king tides, which the charts are coming out tomorrow. Yeah. So the 2026 charts should be coming out tomorrow. Our fall king tides tend to be the bigger ones. They also tend to be the ones that occur during the day. So if we want to do a CRISE stroll, we want to do these during the day, not at 4 o'clock in the morning. Nobody's going to come out and join us. I don't really want to be out there at 4 in the morning either. And so what we do is the one on the lower, the photo on the lower right, we just did this last Saturday with the Sierra Club downtown. So even though the weather was miserable, we had a great crew, 5 people came out. And what we do is we start off talking about flooding and water and what does water mean to you? What's your relationship with water? Where have you experienced flooding? How has that been a challenge for you? So we talk about that. We get folks to download the Citizen Science app. Turns out Sierra Club, they already had downloaded the app. They had all already joined Sea Rise. So that was a quick one. Sometimes we're out there troubleshooting, helping people download the app. And then we take a little walk and we walk to where we know flooding is occurring. And in this case, we started at Brittlebank Park downtown and we walked to Haygood Avenue and Fishburne Streets, which if any of you are familiar with flooding downtown, that's the poster child. That's the one where all the news cameras come and take their footage of flooding. And we have 2 signs at that corner, actually. So we have everybody take their photos and their data, and we take salinity. We show people how to take salinity. We pass around the refractometer. Everybody gets to know what that looks like. And we also, as a door prize, everybody gets what we call a Sea Rise stick. It's a yardstick, and the yardstick has the QR code and it has the website. And so because we want people, look, if you're in your house and you have to draw a straight line or you have to do some measuring, we want you to think of the South Carolina Aquarium. We want you to think about flooding. So we give those out as a kind of a freebie. And you can see some photos here of folks with their sticks and actually using the sticks and measuring the water depth there. And so having this stick, if you're comfortable wading in the water, you can put the stick in the water and then you can actually take your measurement. So it's also a tool. We've got a photo in the middle here of someone using the refractometer. She's learning how to measure salinity. So these are about an hour and a half, the Sea Rise strolls. And we talk about flooding. We talk about how maybe flooding has changed during your lifetime, or if you've been here for several years, how has it changed over time? What do you think is contributing to the increased flooding, if you've experienced increased flooding? And we just have great conversation around flooding. So it's kind of an analog to the litter sweeps. So if any of you have joined those Monday night litter sweeps, it's a way to create community. We will often pair people to collect a litter, strangers who've never met. And by the end of the litter sweep, they're exchanging phone numbers and they're making lunch plans. So this is kind of an analog to that. It's a way to create a sense of community around something that we all experience together, but something that can be kind of a lonely kind of enterprise. So I'm going to move on from there, and I'm happy to answer questions at any time or wait to the end. Wait to the end? Okay. So now I'm going to talk to you something about, it's called our Blue Line projects. And it's another way to talk about sea level rise, but it's through the lens of storm surge inundation. And what I mean by storm surge inundation, I mean basically tropical storms, hurricanes, nor'easters. So we've all experienced storm surge at one time or another, I think, especially if you live in a beach community. But the one that we all know and remember here in South Carolina is Hurricane Hugo. That came ashore just in Sullivan's Island, really close to here. The storm surge inundation experienced in Peninsula Charleston was about 12.4 feet. Folks up in McClellanville experienced 16.8 feet of storm surge inundation. And what was an inspiration for doing these projects is the Hurricane Evacuation Center. It was a school in McClellanville. They thought it was at 20-foot elevation. Turns out it was 10-foot elevation. So those people who had evacuated to that school ended up having to evacuate the shelter. And there is a permanent water line around that school at 6.8 feet. And so there are probably places here on IOP that have the permanent line of where Hugo came ashore. I know that Folly Beach certainly does. So what these depict is first the line of the 1989 Hugo storm surge inundation, taking into account the elevation of where you're standing. So if you're at a building that is at 10-foot elevation, then your line is going to be at 2.4 feet if you experience 12.4 feet. And then we draw another line at the year 2020 to show the sea level rise. So this bottom line here is 1989, Hugo. The next line up is 2020. You can see it's a few inches. It's about 4.5 inches. And then between 2020 and 2050, roughly the same 30-year time frame, you can see it's much, much higher. It's about 1.5 feet. And then between 2050 and 2100. So if Hurricane Hugo were to hit in 2050, that is the predicted increase based on sea level rise. And those are the medium high projections of sea level rise from NOAA et al. 2022. So the other thing that we have in addition to this, and this is our kind of standard design, this is what our creative team designed, but you can also create a mural. These can be STEAM projects. These can be community-based projects where lots of people can get involved. As long as the heights are accurate, we're happy to have it look like whatever the community wants it to look like. But in addition to the actual lines on the building, and this is Folly Beach City Hall, by the way, they were all in. They really wanted this on the side of their building. They have a sign, and you can see it in the upper right over there. And Aubrey's got it right here, and it's got a QR code, and that QR code takes you to a web page that you cannot navigate to except if you click on the QR code or you type in scaquarium.org/blueline. And it gives you all of the background I just gave you. It gives you background on Hurricane Hugo, and it gives you a background on McClellanville and storm surge inundation and what that looks like. And then as you scroll down, there's a call to action, and that is to join our Sea Rise Citizen Science Project. But anyway, this is what the top one, this is what it looks like. Aubrey has it right here, so you can see it. The cool thing about the bottom one is we are working with a company to create an augmented reality blue line project. So that means if people don't want lines painted on the side of their building, we're working on a way where you click on a QR code on that sign, and it will show those lines electronically on the side of the building. And we've been ground truthing it. We have 4 of these blue line projects currently installed. Folly Beach was the very first. It was a little over a year ago. Our second one was at Munkle Brewing. So if you guys are familiar with Munkle Brewing, there's a blue line project on the side of their building facing their parking lot. The third one was at the Charleston Charter School for Math and Science in downtown. And then the most recent one is our first mural that Aubrey installed with an artist friend of his. And that's at the Charlestown Fermentary on James Island. And I wish I should have put a picture of that. I'm sorry. And I missed it because this is kind of old. This is what that web page looks like. This is this is scaquarium.org/blueline. That's a kind of a screenshot of what that looks like. I don't expect you to be able to read it up here, but feel free to type it into your phones if you want, or your computers. And then this is what the augmented reality blue line project will look like. That's my house. So that was just pilot testing it. We're still ground truthing it. We're still working out some kinks, but hopefully we have some signs already made, and hopefully we'll get this, all of the beta testing worked out over the next year or so. And I think that's everything. So this is QR codes to get to our Citizen Science app. If none of you have downloaded the app, feel free to scan on either the Google Play or Apple Store, and our contact information. And we're both happy to answer any questions that you might have about any of these projects in our resilience program. So thank you for your attention. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Do y'all have any questions? How many, I do, actually.
Great.
So for the Sea Rise project, Folly, correct, is doing that. What other communities have the Sea Rise?
So the Sea Rise signs or the Blue Line project?
The Sea Rise.
Sea Rise signs. So Folly Beach has 10 signs.
Okay.
City of Charleston has 30. There's only one in West Ashley. The rest are actually on the peninsula. Some of those we did in conjunction with MUSC. MUSC had put the rulers down, and we worked with them to just put our top to their bottom. So their signs have like a little red portion of it. So if you see the ones with the ruler with a little bit of red, those were ones that MUSC initially installed, and then we installed our flooded sign on top of that. And then we just had delivered to the South Carolina Office of Resilience 60 signs that will be installed throughout the Salkehatchie watershed, and that includes inland communities. So that's why we've been calling these sea rise signs since we started them in April of 2023, and we're trying to call them flooded signs now because we do have inland communities who will be installing these signs. It's I think it's 10 different communities throughout the Salkehatchie watershed, from Beaufort all the way inland to the city of Bamberg and Bamberg County, Jasper County. So yeah, they should be installing those early next year. They just received the shipment, and the South Carolina Office of Resilience just distributed those signs to all those different municipalities. We don't install the signs. The municipalities themselves install those signs because municipalities are good at installing signs. They do it all the time, right? So Aubrey has a really good relationship with the traffic and transportation department at the city of Charleston. So if there are more signs that somebody wants to put up, he just gives those guys a call and he goes out with them and helps them install the signs. Same with the city of Folly Beach. Their city municipal sign folks installed those signs, and we went out with them. We actually went out with them to help. They wanted us to come with them to show us where they want those signs installed, and then they went ahead and installed the signs themselves. And we have a memorandum of understanding with all of these municipalities, including the 10 municipalities throughout the Salkehatchie watershed, so that knowing that the municipality takes responsibility for installing signs, we will work with the city on maintaining the signs. So for example, we have one ruler it's on Line Street and Haygood Avenue that it's been chronically exposed to water, and the bottom part is starting to deteriorate. So we're going to replace that sign. The one on Brittlebank Park, someone must have hit it with a lawnmower because it's a little dented. So we might replace that sign as well.
How much do the signs cost?
So they cost less now than they used to. It depends on how many you want. So you get volume discounts. The 60 signs cost under $4,000 for 60. So it's definitely less than it used to be. When we first started, they were about $45 a piece, and I think they're down to 30.
Around 30. So
Yeah.
we are using a new producer then when we originally started, and with the old producer, they were around 50 to 60. And then we made the switch, and with the most recent order, which is 60 signs, they came up to around 30, 35, if that. So it's cheaper than they used to be. We are still confirming what the actual number per discount is right now, but they're typically around 30.
Okay, so you don't know what the current volume
cost is. I can look it up right now and let you know.
Okay.
Sorry, I should have been more prepared. I used to know off the top of my head, but we changed vendors because the price of aluminum went up. And so we ended up going with an online vendor instead of our traditional sign vendor.
Okay.
And what is the level of participation you're seeing with some of these communities?
So the 60, we don't know yet. I mean, with the 60 signs, but we have, and all of the data, I forgot to mention, all of the data in all of our citizen science projects are publicly available. So anyone can download the data, use it for whatever purposes they want. We've got the folks at the Army Corps of Engineers have connected to the Sea Rise project through an API. So anytime someone enters an observation in Charleston, it automatically updates their Charleston flood models, just automatically. But there's all kinds of uses. Somebody contacted Aubrey from the fire department at Folly Beach, and they've been monitoring the project in real time during Tropical Storm Debbie to do wellness checks, to target where they want to do wellness checks. So it could be anything. It could be students who want to do a project. If you want to document where you're finding lots of where the public is actually documenting lots of flooding, as opposed to Aubrey will use the observations to determine maybe where we might want to put more signs. If we're seeing consistent documentation of flooding in a particular location, you might go check it out and think, oh, this might be a good place for a sign.
How many people did you say from Poly opposed to
I was
in maybe a year or whatever time frame?
That I can't give you right now. I can tell you that we have 944 members of the project, which has gone up a lot since I started in this role about 2 years ago. We have 1,334 observations currently. The project does allow for folks to retroactively upload photos as well. So people that have photos from past events can upload those into the data set as well. So whenever we get into a community, we see an immediate bump of recent flooding, and then people kind of remember that and get a pretty good bump. I want to say we had close to.
We had about 200 a year.
Yeah.
And so but it very much depends also on our marketing department. So our marketing department got an influx of money a year ago, September, and we had a very rainy fall that year. And so it depends on the weather. We had a drought this summer. And so we actually didn't have nearly as many observations as we thought we were going to have this year. But then October was tons of rain. So it also kind of depends on the weather.
So 200 observations a year.
Is kind of the average.
How many signs?
As of right now, 40.
But not necessarily at the signs. So we encourage people to take photos of flooding, whether or not there's a sign there. So we get a lot of photos that don't have signs.
So what?
So the signs are just a marker to kind of remind people,
So
but
how many observations per sign per year on average?
don't know. Haven't tracked that. But that's a great project for a student, actually. We haven't looked in that, but we could easily.
Given that they're more of a lightning rod and a rallying point than a necessity for an impactful and meaningful observation, we don't sit here and say you have to be at a sign all the time. It's encouraged because it's easier to foster a flood or repeatedly document flooding in one location, because create really powerful data when you do foster a flood and go to a sign. But if you don't have one near your house, that's going to be difficult. I'm not asking you to go out of your way 30 minutes to go to the nearest sign and take pictures. As I refer to it as a network of signs grows and is easier to find, it will, not so much easier to find, but it's incorporated in people's daily routes and where they're going. We expect to see them start syncing more. The app does have an observation map, so you can see where observations are taken and being documented. And there are hotspots around signs, but there are also flooded areas near people's homes that they document a lot more than, per se, flooding at a Seabright sign, because it's right there at the front door. So I can't give you a direct answer or statistic on, X amount of observations per sign, but they do encourage people to build a relationship with the project and the tool. That's, as Sarah was saying, part of their impact is it just lets people know that there's an action available, a way to get involved and be a part of these conversations.
And a lot of it really just depends on publicity and how known that sign is, how busy that intersection is. And do you have someone devoted? So I live near 3 signs. I work for the aquarium. You're going to see there are a lot of observations of the signs on Haygood and Fishburne and Haygood and Line Street, because I monitor those signs regularly because I can walk to them from my house. So I'm biasing the data right there. As a super user, I'm going to take pictures of those signs because they are close to my house. I'll go out when it's raining. A lot of people won't. So, people will just go out when it's easy for them. So the signs, as Aubrey said, they're a lightning rod, but they're not necessary for observations at all.
But what action is going to be taken, if any, from these observations?
That depends on the municipality, and it depends on it depends on who wants the data. So as I mentioned, the Army Corps of Engineers is using those to help refine their flood models of Charleston, and they're talking about putting up they just started the PED phase of the battery extension project. So that's going to just help inform and refine the flood models on a smaller scale. If y'all have environmental consultants that you pay to model the flooding on Isle of Palms, your environmental consultants can have access to this for free. If you have signs, it's going to probably increase the amount of data that's being collected in Isle of Palms.
It would have been really helpful to have this a few years ago before we did all the drainage work and to see what the positive impact was. But
And
yeah,
that is a big part of what we do with I refer to it as the RISE program, because that's the acronym we use. It's the Resilience Initiative for Community Engagement. We build community around this because, like Sarah mentioned, this is usually something you interact with as an individual. You're in your car, on your way home, to your job, so on and so forth. And so we want people to realize that the climate anxiety a lot of us feel is something that we can address with actionable items. So Sea-Rise is a tool. It's not the inherent deliverable. What we do with it and the conversations we have are the deliverables. As it's been said, all the BCT and emergency responders utilize this to guide their non-emergency welfare checks. We've had conversations with modelers and so on and so forth. It's exciting, honestly, to learn more about what these tools can do when people see the data that isn't there. One of the challenges I've come up against or not been made privy to and realized exist is, as I have more conversations with folks at different municipalities, there's a capacity issue when trying to fill in some of the holes in these larger data sets that consultants and our own teams are trying to use to build out good plans and frameworks. So we can get people getting an avenue to get some of this anxiety out and a way to address this and be a part of the solution and fill these holes. That's our deliverable. are deliverable with building capacity for our partners and end users.
We've got, folks at Charleston County are really excited about these signs. They've connected us with, for example, the 10 Mile community. That was one of those Sea Rise strolls. Community members are really excited to have a couple of signs up just to help warn people. We have a no wake zone in Charleston, the city of Charleston. People drive through flooded waters all the time. And I cannot tell you how many times they drive through flooded waters while I'm standing there collecting salinity. And it's very salty water. And the last Sea Rise stroll, one of the folks from Sierra Club, most of the photos that she took or video that she took were of cars driving through salty water. That was that 32 parts per thousand, which is super salty. And people just, the lack of regard, there are cars parked on the side of the road and they're pushing the water against those cars. So it's just an awareness raising tool. We are not the solution. We are the community. We engage communities. Our job is not, we don't do, for example, nature-based solutions. Somebody else might use the data to identify where nature-based solutions should occur. It could even be that it might incentivize people to plant rain gardens if that's what they want. If they see that there's consistent flooding and they want to apply for money, they can use the data. They can start documenting the flooding in their area and then use those data to apply for grants to plant rain gardens throughout their community. So I think the solutions are endless. We're just providing a data platform for people and a way to educate the public and increase awareness about it. So we're not the solutions people. We're the step before the solution, if that makes sense.
All right.
Can you use data from just citizens who go out with a regular yardstick, or does it have to be one of your special yellow ones with the
No.
QR code?
No, anyone. Like, in fact, I personally have a tape measure because it's easier to carry. So I carry a tape measure whenever I go out and take flooding photos, and I'll use the tape measure instead. So you can use anything. It doesn't have to be. We just
Plenty of yardsticks.
yeah. Use your own yardstick. We give ours out for free though, so we don't charge them.
One of the big things is just making sure everyone has a spot at the table by having the tools to be a part of data collection and conversations and making this accessible to everyone.
But any community can use the data however they want. And if they decide, if there's a community that wants to have a sign installed and they want to start monitoring that sign, more power to them. And if they want to use those data to talk to their city council about flood mitigation or stormwater management in their neighborhood, this provides them the data, as opposed to just saying my neighborhood floods all the time. What are you going to do about it? Or sending their representatives flooding photos. Those representatives, we've talked to county officials who are like, yeah, please stop sending us photos. We want to send people somewhere to put their photos, a repository for those photos, and then those photos become data for any end user.
I think it's all great information, and I think we need to wrap it up now.
Okay.
But if we have other questions, obviously we can email you all and go from there.
Yeah.
Can you send us the link for where your data that's being collected so we can see what the potential is?
Yeah, so it's if you actually the data are also all the observations you can download on your phone as well. But yeah, I can send Laura. I think I've sent it to you in the past, but I can send you the link to the ANIC data so that you can look at it on your computer, which is easier to see than on your phone. So sure, happy to do it.
All right.
Thank you all for your attention.
Thank
Wish you
you.
happy
Thank you.
holidays. So
Thank you for coming. It was a couple of months in the works.
Nice.
Great. Okay. All right, we're going to move on to our old business, and we're going to start with our discussion and consideration of changes to the lighting ordinance. Todd?
Yeah, we, after the last meeting, Douglas and I worked together to put a new draft together with, there was 2 items that we kept in the lighting ordinance. The first 2 items, A and B. The other items were removed. And then I think it was item B, we added some language around excluding the docks. Am I remembering that right, Douglas? Does that sound right? It's been a while.
That sounds right.
It's been a while. And so, and then that has been sent to, Douglas, where is it now?
Planning Commission.
Okay.
So I don't know has this group, did they recommend those revisions to the Planning Commission? has this group finalized their recommendation?
No, I
It
think-
seems like it,
I think where we left it was I sent it to the group for information, but you were going to go ahead and forward it to the planning commission as a next
so
step.
I think both groups have it. I think planning commission is waiting for this group to kind of finalize
Okay.
a recommendation before they did actually discuss it last night. They have some, what I would call very technical recommendations that I think would go, I think we were talking about kind of a partner best practices document that wouldn't be in the ordinance, but more related to,
That was going to be, we talked about putting that with the building permit
yes.
application, that there'd be sort of a best practices on lighting that would complement what's in the ordinance.
Right.
Yeah.
So kind of a stripped down ordinance, but then a more robust set of guidelines that could be given as best practices when you're building a house.
Right.
So Todd, why don't you and I get together between now and the next EAC meeting, package that all up, get this group to finalize it, and then it'll go to the. planning
Okay. And that's
commission.
both elements. That's the finalizing the red line, which I think it's done, but then draft in the language that would go with the permit.
I think, yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay. Next, we're going to have our discussion on water quality testing results. Do you want me to?
Yeah, Laura, why don't you give an
Yeah.
update?
So we did our first test back in September, and we tested for we found enough E. coli in the 3 outfalls, 25th, 36th, and actually those were the only 2 of the 3 that had enough E. coli. We then moved on to the MST testing, and we tested for dog, human, and deer. And all of the results came back that it was dog-based E. coli. We then still had 3 of the fluidian test tubes left because we had 6 total. We used the first 3 for that first sample in September. We then decided to do a second test and just go to 25th Street and only test for human if there was enough bacteria. And so on November 18th, we were able to actually and we did it during a water event. That was the other difference. The first test was done during a dry period, and the second test was done during a water event. And the second test came back. They actually did it on October 28th. There was about 0.84 inches of rain that particular day. It was low tide, and they did get enough E. coli. And so then we sent it off for MST testing. We ran it only for humans. And on November 18th, the results came back from the lab, and there was no human bacteria reported. So again, there was E. coli, but it was not human. So we've done 2 tests now that are confirming at this point that we don't apparently have some issues with runoff from septic systems. I mean, nothing 100% definitive, but for so far right now, we're only showing dog and no human and no deer. So then the question would be, would we want to continue to develop a modeling into next year and do additional testing and maybe pick some other outfall areas or other locations and continue to build out the model to see if there's any changes over the next year. And with we would have a new budget to work with next year,
Yep, after July, there will be.
after July.
How many other locations have been tested in the past? Or are these just the
These are the
main
only ones
ones?
that have been
So
tested.
no others have.
No,
We
have any
started
records?
with a wider net
Well, yeah, we started
We
with that wider
initially-
net, but we didn't have necessarily,
Those tests.
there were different pieces of the puzzle that were revealed with those particular outfalls.
I want to say we started with 8,
8, yes. there
and
were
then
8
of those 8, we identified the kind of 3
hot
worst.
spots.
And,
Yeah,
and those 3 hotspots are the ones that we've drilled down on with these tests.
right.
Would you expect there to be a big difference? I mean, the last one we did was what, 10 years ago?
Longer than that,
20.
I think, yeah.
So 20, it seems a lot to go from 20-year gap and then start doing it every year. We're not finding, it didn't sound like we found anything, which is a good thing, right? I mean, I think people should be happy about that. We should.
Yeah,
that's a-
I would agree with that. I mean, from my perspective, this was an excellent exercise to kind of take another look, because it's been a long, long time. There's
Right.
been a lot of,
Right.
a lot has changed in 20 years. I don't know that I would think that we would want to do it every year going forward. I don't think we'd want to let it go 20 years
No.
again. I do think there's kind of an obligation to, it was an expenditure, and it's the prior effort kind of got bundled up for historical, reference of what that project did and what it found. I do think there's a need to do that again for this work, that we would kind of do just an explanation of what we've kind of recapped, and we all get kind of dim on details as times pass. So kind of refresh and document what we did, where we did it, what we found, what led us to the next 3 tests, and then what the results are of that. Package it up, kind of all agree this is what happened, and then have that as part of the public record for the next time, whenever we go back and
Go back
revisit
and
the issue,
revisit.
we'll kind of have the roadmap of what we've done
Okay.
and where we tested.
So
Well, I
we're able to
can-
memorialize.
Yeah, just kind of memorialize it so that, again, we can report back to council, there was an expenditure that you all approved. This was the result of that. These are the findings. And we can, just kind of let the public be aware of what has happened and what we found. And, but I do think that we would want to, as kind of a conclusion to that, state what we would expect next steps to be. I think, again, we went 20 years. I think that's too much, but I think there would be a recommendation from this group of what would the next step be? Would it be, every, I don't know, maybe it's like
5
a,
years or 10 years or
like a colonoscopy, maybe. Every 5 years.
Yeah,
In
yeah,
case you find
every
something, then you
3
get,
every 3
depends on how old you
years.
are.
Every 3 years.
So, but there was also another recommendation out of that we're going to talk about next, but was to do something to remediate the dog feces.
Right.
Yeah,
on-
because
on
that's
waterway.
still
So that could be
not
part
a
of that
good
as well. It
thing to
was a
see.
recommendation coming out of that study,
Mhm.
and then that, sort of detached the project from it. But like you said, memorialize it with that information. Because that
Yeah.
may be something that, a future study finds the same issue in a different part of the island.
It's like a near-term action and a short-term
Yeah.
recommendation.
right.
Well, and I think that could kind of feed in with duty calls, could
Yeah.
that? with
Yeah,
that's
that's
what-
what
yeah,
that's
wastewater.
what-
Todd's-
that's
that's-
what-
yep.
Yeah, that's what he's
Yeah.
They've
looking to.
identified, we did have a lot of bacteria.
Yeah,
I mean, so we do have an issue. It's just not
Mhm.
human, it's dogs. So this would be the kind of tie-in to next steps with dog waste. And maybe if we as a group feel like we're going to try to lower that overall number with activities like duty calls or something else, I mean, we could kind of benchmark in the future to see
Yeah.
if they're being effective. We
Yeah.
could use it.
Mhm.
Maybe a specific study of that part of the island for that
Yes.
specific,
Yeah.
Yeah.
test 3 years from now or 2 years from now or whatever, just
Mhm.
to see if it's effective, if we made a difference.
Laura, remind me the cost, once we got down to this most recent part of it, because it wasn't a tremendous amount.
okay.
Once we
So, yeah,
identified
the
the spot.
total potential cost to do both the Fluidian and the MST testing was $6,780. And that was to do, that was giving us 6 Fluidian test tubes.
But that did it twice, correct?
That was for 2 times.
Two
Yeah,
times.
for 2 times.
Um,
And we didn't, it was actually, I mean, that was the potential cost, but we only did 1 MST testing this second time. So the initial round, if it shows enough levels of bacteria, then we move forward with the MST. Okay. So the Fluidian is $4,150, and that's for the 6 test tubes. Then if there's enough bacteria, the actual species sample, it's $135 per species per sample. So we did 3 species the first time. So that was, with shipping, that was $1,315. But the second test, we had the test tubes already, so there was no additional cost. We only used 1 of the test tubes, and that was only $135.
so maybe
And-
we could do that, since we don't test for species like every year, maybe we can do just the cheaper, to just do the
We could do just the Fluidian
solely-
testing.
or just solely the bacteria test.
Yeah, that would be the
to see if
Fluidian, and
we're
that would
making a
be
difference on
the,
And is that all 3 outfalls, or is this section that we determined to be a problem really just 1 outfall?
It is 3 out.
All 3 of them?
3.
Okay.
And we could expand it to other areas if we
Yeah.
wanted to. Those were the 3 hotspots.
So maybe the recommendation would be, we went for 20 years, we appear to be okay, other than wildlife. Let's try to tackle wildlife with activities like what we're discussing with duty calls. And let's retest at kind of the basic level in a year or 2 years.
Maybe 2 years after the installation
Yeah.
of the
See if it's having.
collection.
Yeah,
Devices.
the 2 years after we get the duty, if we're
If
we
we
do
move
for
that.
sure
forward with that,
doing
yeah.
the duty calls, then yeah.
What
So
do they do?
retest.
What does duty calls do? The name's
Robert
confusing.
will,
So, okay, so we would retest at the same, potentially the same outfalls, maybe more,
it's good to have a
Baseline.
baseline. So
and
we
kind of
should at least do
continue
the
to-
same thing,
If we
right?
knew those were the bad
Consistency
guys,
at the same-
we'll
Outfalls.
There's
Okay.
3 with the dog problem, right?
correct.
Yeah.
Right.
I think we
3.
still.
And actually, yeah, and only 2 of them actually came back with high enough. It was the 25th Street and then the 36th
That's what I was
Street.
asking. So really, we just have to do 2
2.
outfalls,
Mm.
1 test
Yeah,
in 2 years,
and we
or
could
2
just do
years,
those
or
2
whatever,
again.
plus
Yeah,
whatever.
because the other one did not come back with high enough levels. And then that was why we wanted, and 25th was the 1 outfall that was on the original test from last year.
Yeah.
That Doug put together. That was really the glaringly bad one. So that's why we decided to do that one for the second test and then just test for human. And again, it did come back high enough, but there was no human E. coli in that sample.
So when we summarize this, maybe what we do is summarize what you just said.
Yes.
2 years after we do this project, if we do this, let's do these 2 outfalls, these tests, and maybe even provide at the current rates, we had quoted, it would cost this to do that, just so we have some idea in the future, because
Of
we're
what
not going to
potential.
remember. And then if somebody says, well, how much is it going to cost to do that? Well, 2
Right.
years ago, it would have cost this.
Right. Okay.
Let's go look and, let's get this approved.
And we want to do it in 2 years after
I threw that out. I mean,
post
That
the
seems
duty
good.
call.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
seems reasonable.
Okay. All right. Well, I can.
Ask a question also. Are there any human health implications to these high, even dog bacteria levels? I don't know. Do we have an obligation to inform people? Just curious if there's, or is it just, okay, it's gross, but nobody's going to get sick?
I the only thing I can use to answer that is DHEC does test the backwaters. Obviously, these are outfalls. These are our drainage ditches that ultimately lead to the backwaters of the island. They are testing throughout the year, and they do occasionally they'll close down shellfish areas, and they have on occasion put up on their mapping caution to recreational swimmers. It happens very rarely back there, but they are in the business of kind of constantly monitoring and giving caution where they deem caution is necessary. To me, that's an appropriate place for that to land. I mean, I don't know that we would be excellent at being in the business of trying to caution people of those concerns. So I may not be getting done to the highest level, but it's being done. It's on the health department's radar and in their duties of giving those warnings.
Well, and frankly, the other aspect of this is, what amount of this is ending up in our marshes too, and affecting the health of our marshes, which are an ecologically very important aspect of our community. So it may not just be the waters that people are in, but what about the marshes? And how is it possibly negatively impacting the flora and fauna and the wildlife that live in the marshes, the runoff, which is a resilience issue.
I'm not sure what we do with that.
I know that would be something that, like the South Atlantic Marsh Initiative, could potentially help us with.
You could put it on the duty call sign, like.
But
I'm
what?
just worried that
Just-
if we have data and it looks really bad and we do nothing about it, and then something, it leads to something or has some implications, particularly with humans, that could look pretty bad on us. So
Yeah, Cindy, I think from my perspective, we are going to document it, memorialize it, and broadcast it. We're gonna get out the information that we have that we've. So I don't know that anybody would be able to say we hid something or Now, if we have given direct contact to the right people, that I'm unqualified to answer. But I do think we will provide the information to the public, and I would expect, knowing how the public kind of receives and reacts to information, if there's something that we're unknowingly not doing, I'm sure we will become aware of that.
Is this going to be a bucket that we would have on the website
I think so.
on our
Yeah,
EAC?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, this
Under
is,
our
to me,
EAC.
this is a kind of thorough, complete project that you all have undertaken,
Yep.
gotten funded, carried through completion, and it would be captured on that website
EAC,
as
okay.
and we would publicize it in some way.
Newspaper articles.
Well, yeah, that too, with both the Island Eye and the Island Vibe. And then, my goal too was to try and do a quarterly, update with council on work that we're doing.
Right.
And we talked about this. I talked about this coming up
That's
the
right.
last time that I
Yep.
spoke in the summer. So that would be another opportunity to make the information known and make it out, have it be out there for full disclosure.
So, Laura, are you comfortable writing the
Mhm.
kind of synopsis sheet that we could provide back
Yep.
to the group? And
Yes, I am. Mhm. I can have it for
for the
January
yeah,
next year.
Yeah.
And we can look it over. And if y'all think it looks fine, then that would be what we would go with. That's okay.
Great.
Okay. All right. Anything else?
No, but to your point, Douglas, I think we need to definitely include a link or reference with DHAC or
yeah,
whatever they're called now.
Yep.
That, they're the source of truth because they're the experts in monitoring.
yeah. It's a good point.
Okay. All right. Well, then let's move on now to our discussion of the contract and costs with duty calls.
Robert, you mind
Robert, do you want to come
coming
up?
up?
But May I make a recommendation before we do that? Since we have Fisher Glass here.
Yeah.
Might we move them up on the agendas and let them go ahead and speak so that we can then get
We can do
to,
that with the contract, sure.
yes.
Yeah.
Would
Well, they
we have
weren't, I
to
don't
vote
think they
on
were
that?
speaking. It was the discussion we were going to have about the contract. They're just coming to listen to.
Okay.
But I mean,
Yeah,
your
we-
point is still valid. I'm just saying they weren't here to chat
To
about it.
speak.
They
were
were
here
gonna
listen.
talk-
okay.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
But do you want to shift that? You want to shift your discussion of that issue to now?
Yeah,
The
let's go
Fisher side.
ahead. Yeah, let's go
Okay.
ahead and,
So
because I
do
know
you-
they've been,
Do you need a motion or is that?
do we need a
we can
motion
just
for
go?
that?
Technically, yes.
I'm
Okay.
making a motion that we move the discussion about the glass recycling up.
Up.
I'll
to-
second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right.
You want me to start this off? Or do you want to?
Yeah, so I can start it and
Go
then
ahead.
you can go.
Yep.
So when we were working on this a couple months ago, we wanted to find out what Sibelco, what information we could get from Sibelco about the rate of contamination that the city glass contains when it arrives at their facility, because that was a big question of. And Elizabeth sent me an email. Reportedly, the loads are 27% contaminated or 75% clean. That being said, ours is still 20 to 25% a better product because Fisher's estimation is that really their product is about 90 to 95% clean. And they wanted to know, are there any further questions that the EAC would have about, what we would do now with regards to either keeping the glass recycling contract with them or not. They've been doing a courtesy to continue the program on a month-to-month basis for us. The contract was technically up it expired October 1st. And they've been maintaining the collection services during this renewal consideration period and invoicing the city on a month-to-month basis for the collection. So we need to decide if we want to move forward. The city wants to move forward and continue with the program with Fisher or discontinue it.
Did anybody from this group independently talk to the Sibelco?
Sibelco?
I did not. I don't have a point of I tried to actually locate a point of contact with Sibelco. Couldn't do that. Probably with additional effort, I could. But we have not made personal contact with Sibelco.
My concern is that this seems like it's kind of a hot button issue. The community, we've gotten some emails and some pushback, and if we make a decision without independently verifying with Sibelco that information, it's going to cause some
Well,
controversy.
Let me, I guess, ask the question. I don't think, and the Fishers can correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think there's any indication that I've seen that indicates they are not recycling 100% of the glass that they receive from the county. I've seen that there's a level of contamination, but I don't know that I've ever seen that it gets dumped or it gets not recycled. So I think I am assuming that all of it that goes into the blue barrel that gets from the county's recycling, I think there could be some loss at the recycling plant itself, but that if the county gets it to Sibelco, I believe 100% of that, they haven't indicated that any of that's getting wasted.
So the contaminated is not thrown out. But it's.
Can you all?
Well, but that's what they're saying. 27% of it is contaminated.
But that doesn't, I don't know what that means.
I think they still are.
Are they still recycling it?
They're shipping 27% of every load they send, or 30% is garbage. They're
It
sending,
goes to the landfill?
once it gets to Atlanta, they ship it to Atlanta, and then 30% of every load goes to the landfill.
Okay, that's That is news to me. I didn't understand that.
I just think we need to independently verify that.
Yeah. And that's,
And that's on our end.
we can do that. I would
Yeah.
agree with Eric on that.
And I think,
Can they give you their
Yeah.
their contact with Sabelco so that you can get a hold of them,
Yep.
Douglas? Because I don't want to keep this dragging out. I mean, they've been, we have to make a decision one way or the other, and I agree with Eric. We should make absolutely sure that everything is, that we're verifying everything properly. But we've already, it's December and
yeah, I was going to say, I'd like to make a recommendation that we just continue at least for a year what we have, the contract that's in place, and then use that time to figure this out, but continue to do fishery recycling for another year, retroactive to October. I guess that's when the,
Or can we do it for 6 months or so? Do we have to do it for a full year?
But it takes one phone call. I mean, I think we could probably, if we have the contact, we could decide next week. I mean, and I say that only because like of all of the engagement we've gotten
yeah.
in the last year, this particular issue has been one that we've gotten probably the most on.
Yeah.
And so if we just say, oh, we didn't have a contact, so we're going to renew it for a year, that'll cause a controversy. I mean, it's a,
do we really have, I mean, I know, have there been a lot of people that have been commenting?
no,
on this?
but I think there's been one.
Well, there's
It's
been
been-
one person
that's
that
been
has
commenting a
been
lot, yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
that's one
there's
voice
two.
that, I mean, I mean, we don't get a lot of
No, I understand.
single people who come in. It's rare that we get people who, and there's been a lot of data provided and a lot of, research provided by this one individual. And so I think we should make a phone call like tomorrow and,
But even if we do, we have to reconvene.
yeah, but we could reconvene. We'll reconvene in a month. So to extend for 6 months when we can probably close this out with certainty next month seems.
Let me ask this question of the group.
Okay.
And I guess I would say there's a couple of considerations. Before what I've just heard, I was assuming that everything that was going to the county was actually getting recycled, that it was contaminated and that it was going to a lesser, maybe a lesser product, maybe something else, but not going to the landfill. So we definitely will verify that. We have continued with Fisher in the past based on, and because we had kind of been hearing, well, they're not using in the road bed. So this is, I think, kind of the second year in a row that we've heard, we've been hearing questions about, is it worth the output of money? And at least last year, this group decided that just changing the behavior is reason enough to not sever ties with Fisher. There's a running project with them, and that if we were to stop with them and eliminate that process, and then the county goes back to using it in road beds or doing whatever else they might do, it would be very tough to re-energize it. So
Well,
and I guess my question would be, are you all at a point where if 27% is thrown out, then you would be okay continuing with Fisher? Imagine 27% is not thrown out. At that point, would we say we're going to stop with Fisher? So in other words, is that a fork in the road where if one is true, you continue, and if it's not true, you don't continue? Is that where you are?
So there's two things, Douglas. One was that, if I understood right, Fisher's got 5 to 10% contamination. Charleston County is 25%. So the delta is 15 or 20%, right? It's not a full 25.
We think.
We
Yeah,
think.
I
We need to
mean,
verify that.
Yeah.
And I think, I mean, in terms of the behavior, I agree with you. If we pull back, it's going to be really hard to reinstate this. But I mean, if we had to, we could put in the blue bins in the same locations and let people continue to put glass in them, and have Charleston County just pick up there until we figure this out. Like I wouldn't rip the Band-Aid off with the behavior.
So maybe that would be the middle of the road.
To kind of continue the practice until we can figure it out, and then it gives us the flexibility. But the only reason I say we do the 6 month, or I like the 6 month idea extension, is because it's retroactive to October. That's when the contract was up, right? And we're going to be January, we're going to meet, maybe make a decision, but that gives us at least February to make the decision. But yeah,
And I have a question. What leads to contamination? If it's glass, it's glass. So why would it be contaminated?
What's collected in the blue bins, the way that it's separated apparently at the recycling center is it's broken up. So you get some bottle caps, some straws, some debris, some things that don't go through their conveyor system properly, and it ends up with the glass.
Okay. So it's.
Is there,
Okay.
is it also like if people don't wash out, let's say you have a mayonnaise jar, glass mayonnaise jar, and you don't wash it out completely and clean it and then put it in your recycle, is that considered contamination?
Well, peanut butter or mayonnaise, it'll contaminate a whole load. I mean, just, and pizza boxes, people put pizza boxes in there.
Oh my
You can't
gosh.
Recycle those. I mean, there's lots and lots of stuff that shouldn't go in there. Wait, a couple weeks from now, all the Christmas lights you'll see in your beds.
Because of glass. That's crazy.
So it's not just food that's, or dog poop in the case of the, right. It's anything in general that is not considered recyclable. That gets, okay. Because that was my big question. Because I'm always washing. My husband's like, "You're washing the garbage?" I'm like, "Yeah."
All right. So sounds to me like you all would potentially, depending on what the answer is from Sibelco, that may be kind of a fork in the road for you all. If it is, then yeah, I think
Well,
we
let's.
would.
I mean, is it for everybody?
So it's like a 15% difference,
I mean,
roughly.
5 to 10 versus 25. Yeah, if those
Yeah.
numbers are right,
So
15 or
Yeah.
20%.
17%.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to put a value on 15%.
Yeah.
You know,
If it didn't cost the city anything except for location, it would be a no-brainer,
Mhm.
right? We would
Right.
100% support providing the facilities and the space, the education, awareness. And it's not a lot of money, but it's, it's just, when you're doing it, like we talked about this last meeting, it's every year and it's probably going to go up, not down over time. So
Right.
we're kind of setting a precedent and making a longer term commitment if we continue doing it.
So the next step is to reach out to
Sibelco.
So, I mean, how quickly can it be resolved once someone's able to reach out to Sibelco?
Well, I guess the question is will that answer is that a difference?
And we can say provisionally yes or no. I mean, if it's no, 15% is not worth $10,000, then we don't need to call
Right.
Sibelco.
That's,
Because if the answer is
or if it's yes, and you feel like the value of changing behavior is so, that's so valuable and you're not going to get it back. So it could be that the response doesn't really drive, whatever Sibelco says doesn't drive your decision.
Drive the decision.
If
Right.
that's the case, I mean, I think you could, but if it is going to be your point of decision making and one is a yes and the other's a no, we certainly will have that to you, but it'll probably be
Yeah.
another month.
can we put county bins there? Is that it?
Sure.
Because then you're not losing the habitual component is completely alleviated. That's a good idea.
Yeah, that's what Todd said.
So if that's just as feasible, then it's really just, is the 15% difference worth $10,000 a year? That's the question. I don't know.
Yeah, it feels like the answer is no to me. I'd rather hold Charleston County accountable to do the right thing, figure out how to solve this. I know I don't understand why they do it here. Other cities and counties I've lived in, they separate your recycles you put them in separate bins and they pick them up and put them in separate compartments. And I don't know why they do what they do here, but I mean, you're never going to get 100%, right? That's just not
Right.
going to be realistic. But if we're at 75%, we're trying to get to 90%. To your point, is it worth
So we could put
10,000 times 20
the
years?
city bins,
The county bins, yep.
or the
blue
county,
bins,
the
yep.
blue bins, where the Fisher bins are right now.
Yep.
And it would be 100 only glass, nothing else.
Well,
Could
I'm
be.
not sure with the county because everything is
Yeah.
It'll get mixed in with the
Right.
truck.
Yeah,
Right.
we could make it
Oh.
a practice that you do that, but it's going to end up in the truck
It'll
with the
still,
cardboard and
and
everything.
versus Fisher, which is, it's
Right,
100%.
Right.
100%.
That's where the
Well,
loss
then,
occurs.
yeah, then to me, the 15% either way, it doesn't matter to me. I don't think that, I would want 100% of this to be recyclable, and it isn't. And I think we've established a really good practice for the community, and they feel really good about the fact that all this glass is going 100% into either either having their product made, their countertops or whatever made, and the rest of it is 100% being recycled, or 90% of it.
I'm kind of on the other side of the camp. I think I agree. I don't understand the value of that extra 15%. And if I don't understand the value, it's like I don't feel good about signing off on a $10,000 expenditure when 15%, like you could still, I like the habit, keep the habit forming. You can still collect glass there. And then it buys us time without spending money. If we learn, next month or the following month that, hey, you know what, there is value, we can always switch the bins. At least we'll have bins there.
I mean, when you say what value or would you be looking for?
Like, what the 15%, what is that, stack up on an annual basis? So it goes to the landfill. What do they do with it at the landfill? Like, it just,
How much is it? I don't even know what the gross weight of that would be. Just
yeah,
things like
it
that.
just,
So
I
go further. Let's say we're going from 75% to 95% by paying $10,000 a year. What if I said you could get to 95% by paying another $10,000? You get to 98% for paying another. At some point, it's like, okay, we're not really the money. The juice is not worth the squeeze. And so, I think that's what you're saying is, are we getting from 75 to 90? Is that worth the 10,000? And I don't know how to quantify that right now.
And
I don't either.
we haven't talked to the county. Maybe we can talk to the county and say, hey, like we call them and we say, oh, your numbers are kind of bad. Like, what can be done to fix that? I mean, we've not engaged the county at all.
Right.
Do we
So-
know how many other communities are doing this separate service that also use the county? Like,
How
Are we
many,
the only one?
how many Fisher is currently servicing?
yeah,
No, we're not, we have drop sites all over. Just for.
No municipality.
No other municipality. No other municipality, Cindy.
okay. Because that was one of the complaints, the guy who's been complaining, saying that's an unnecessary expense. We're duplicating something that's already done. So I was just curious how many other communities are doing that as well, but it sounds like none, right?
Correct. Do you want to do one or two things? Either vote or we can find out. I mean, it sounds like either way. Maybe you want time to think about it. I don't know. But you could either, somebody could make a motion one way or the other. You guys could vote. Sounds like there's a little bit of a division of, but we just can take a vote and sort it out. Or we can find out what we can verify that there is a percentage difference.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like Fisher's been a good partner since October, doing this without a contract, that we at least owe it to them to give them a commitment now and not drag this out for them. But that's what I was thinking. Then Sean said 6 months, that maybe a 6-month commitment from retroactive to October at least buys us time and gives them some direction in the short term, as opposed to just deciding right now to make the switch and then figure it out. So
Yeah,
I would
again,
make a motion that
if we validate that, I don't think my mind will change, but I just don't see the value, even if those numbers we validate, fully. So I do think we should put cans there if we were to pivot away, but I don't know what we'd learn in, a month to really kind of swing me in the other direction. I don't feel super strongly about it, but I just don't see the value. And I think we can, we can put that money in, something maybe a little bit more quantifiably impactful.
there's a logistical question. Can Charleston County, because they use the mechanical arm on the truck and they grab those bins from out behind those walls, like we have to ask,
Or
you know,
will we
at
have
the-
to move it,
So-
and make
Right.
accommodations?
So they do have
Yeah,
several
they
different
trucks will get
trucks.
to it.
The side loading operation, which residential cans are pulled out to the street, but they also do run a rear loading truck for oddball kind of situations.
Mhm.
So I have seen them manually grabbing recycle bins and then hooking them up. But that is a good point because
Mhm.
you would have to have somebody pull those physically
Right.
out of the bins,
Right.
line them up on the street for Charleston County to
So I think
service
there's a
them.
feasibility component around what we're doing today, and can Charleston County replicate the pickup aspect?
Well, do we,
So they would have to be pulled out. I mean,
If-
well,
If it
no,
was
they're-
the side loading operation, so we would have to check with the county, do they do what we call a backyard service where you're pulling a recycling can to a location that can go in the back of a rear loading truck,
Right,
not
right.
on the side loader. So that is something we would have to find out.
So Robert, would, if we determine that they don't,
Mhm.
if they have to service it with a side loader, is it the corral that would make is it the size of the corral?
Yes, it would have to be street side, so the truck would have to pull up just like it pulls up in front of everybody's
But they would
house.
pull into that, they wouldn't
Yes.
try to do it from Palm Boulevard. And
No,
that on-
they
No,
would
they would
pull
pull into
in
the
right
parking
where
lot,
it is.
right.
So
but
could you
those-
just move them on the other side of the fence?
But
Yeah,
who's
you
gonna
could
do-
have them street side right there because that is our
Yeah.
street. That is actually a street.
Okay.
Those cans would have to be lined up without a corral because they need that distance in between each one.
Right, it's
With
like,
the arm.
So
Mhm.
when they pull up, will the cans be straight? Will they be crooked if you're just having them freestanding? So that would be the other
There's some
obstacle.
upkeep that would go along with that, in my
Yeah.
opinion, because, you know, even when they set them down, sometimes they fall or they get turned. And, you
Or
know.
what about a dump or the dumpster, like those blue dumpsters that they have at the DMV?
So Charleston County, I did a little dive into, they do special programs for businesses and commercial programs.
Mhm.
So if you look into that more, really big on that recycling end, but you'd have to look into what they would specifically be able to do in that location. It is considered a commercial location in the back of Harris Teeter there.
Mhm.
But you would have to check with the county.
so it sounds like we still have some questions about,
Yeah, I answered that we could just swap them out. Sounds like I need to retract that
Yeah,
answer.
that
and
was,
figure-
as we
figure
were
that out.
talking
I
about.
think
I was thinking-
conceptually, but we may have to make some adjustments. But again, I mean, they may say, no, we're not going to be able to add that to our route, or that location or that situation doesn't work or whatever. I don't know.
So Robert, the services that pull cans out, I mean, that would be an option for the city to
That's- you're right.
engage, leave it like it is,
Yeah,
engage a service that actually rolls out cards.
Exactly. Yeah, so you
Any
could
idea
pay
what
it-
that costs? or-
yeah, I was gonna say how much.
Yeah, I think it's a low cost. I think it's $25 a month to pull out
For residents.
like 3 cans or something like, and that might, so if you're just doing recycling cans, it may be less because that's talking for a residential home pulling out their
Which is,
regular
yeah,
can.
3 times a week. in the
Right,
summer.
and then the
Yeah.
recycling also. So that is something, there's, I think, 3 or 4 on the island that do that,
Yeah.
and are pretty reliable.
Yeah.
So
So
that's an option.
worst case scenario, if they can't service it in the corral,
It could just be pulled out
we
to the
could
street.
hire a third party to roll them out.
And the other challenge, though, is that with the recycling, they are every other week, right?
Now,
And I
Except in the
know
summertime,
that-
they're every week.
Yeah, and those bins are full,
Right.
like, and I don't know how often they do it. How
Twice a
often?
week. Yeah.
Twice a week.
So that's the other
So you'd
issue.
either have to get more,
Yeah.
a lot more
A lot more
containers to
containers.
accommodate if the pickup is now every other week and not 2 or
And I
3
mean,
times a
and,
week.
Republic is who does it for the county now.
Mhm.
Their track record isn't great. Sometimes things get missed. I got a phone call on the way here. My recycling wasn't picked up.
Oh.
So that's another issue, but.
sounds like we don't know enough to make a decision. So in that
it
case,
doesn't.
I mean,
I think we should.
we can have but we should just set a deadline. I like the, like it sounds like the county could offer, cheaper options that are impactful, maybe not quite as impactful. So you could do like an extension till March, and that's either like a sunset period or a
Renewal.
renewal. But I think, yeah, because I agree, like it's not good to leave people in limbo.
Yeah, I don't know.
And
We've
March,
already-
so October, November, December, January, February, March. So that'd be 6 months retroactively.
At the latest, March, right? If we can get,
Well, but then
Well,
if we
I
have
think we do
March,
it
then we don't
6.
leave them.
Yeah,
I think
we
you make
leave
a
folks
commitment,
hanging for,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, because we need the time, trust me. We-
yeah,
We don't
Yeah.
move fast enough to get stuff done.
because we got to
sooner.
call
No.
the county, them, figure out if they got to be pulled out
Right.
and
right.
special
Yeah.
or commercial arrangement. It's just like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's a lot. So
So
All
then
right.
do we
I
make a
think-
motion?
I'd
for
like to make a
December?
motion that we do further research on the county's capabilities to pick up the service and find out what the cost would be for that. The different scenarios, if they have to be pulled out versus not pulled out.
Yeah.
And,
so-
and also to contact Sibelco just so that we can cover that base and make absolutely sure that the percentages that we have are correct.
And we're extending the Fisher
And we're-
contract.
and
I
we
think
would
the-
like to
I think
cons-
the motion can just be about the contract.
Yeah.
The rest of
The
it's-
The
contract.
task stuff,
Yeah.
we'll
through
handle that.
March.
But
All
the-
right,
But
so-
the motion would be to.
All right,
extend
so
the
then we'll make
contract
a
if you want.
motion that the contract be extended till March of 2026 with Fisher.
Until March or through March?
Do we want to say through? Should I say through March?
I think that's 6
Yeah.
months.
Through
Okay,
month,
through
through March, through March of 2026.
I second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay.
And then we probably should assign some of these.
Thank you.
Yes.
And then we should,
Thank you.
we should assign some of these Charleston County
you.
things, like some subset of this group needs to kind of,
And you'll send us that point of contact?
Yes.
Sibelco?
First thing in the morning.
Great, thank you.
so
What?
some subset of this group
Complete
should be doing this
contract.
follow-up with
Yes.
Charleston County. Can we
Yes.
talk about and decide who that's going to be?
Thank you.
Correct.
And not just leave it. up
Oh,
to-
yeah. No,
let's-
we have to,
before we
who's
move on.
going to, who's going
I'll
to,
have the phone call with.
with Sibelco?
Yeah.
And Robert, can you
Yes.
contact this county about the,
Yes.
okay, great. So,
I think there's a sort of a broader conversation with the county too, which is, are they thinking about re-engineering their processes? Are they looking at better
Long-term.
practices?
yeah,
In
long
the
term.
future.
Maybe they're going to be doing something in 2027 that like we're going to start separating or whatever, or maybe, we suggest it and they consider it and get back to us. But
Yeah, we've heard that they fluctuate with the market, and I think that would just be good to know, like how do you anticipate ever pivoting back to using it on, we've heard that, I think, but I think that's
For
a
the
valid
roadbeds,
question for them.
yeah.
Just, well, how nimble are you, or will you continue to send it to Sibelco for the foreseeable future?
would it make sense to have one or two of the members of the committee join those conversations? Or just you guys have them and then kind of come back to us? What do you think's easier?
If I cannot do it via email, would be my preference to be able to share the information.
Yeah.
If it happens via phone call, I'll.
Okay.
Uh,
I'm not necessarily raising my hand, but
I
just,
saw, I
know you guys have a lot
of-
and this is an initiative we want to tackle. So,
Yep.
I think
Yeah.
Eric said he would love to do this.
Just point me in the right direction. Happy to help anyway.
Okay. All right, now we're going to move back to our discussion about contract and costs with duty calls. Robert,
Sure, I'm the duty guy, I guess.
you're the duty guy.
What do they do again?
That's what Douglas said.
What's their business?
So yeah, I believe we were discussing 10 weigh stations on Waterway Boulevard. I guess after we finished the multi-use path. So I was quoted for 10 weigh stations, and this is a full weigh station. So it's a dispenser for the bags, and then it's a garbage can, and is serviced. So they're servicing it once a week, and then each one to be serviced once a week is $10 per visit. Quantity of 10. So annually, it's costing $5,200 a year. You're going to do 10 weigh stations. down waterway.
There's not a capital upfront cost on the,
So then,
Oh,
yeah.
sorry.
So then the actual waste station itself is $345
Each.
each.
Okay.
But then if you're going, so then there's a breakdown if you're doing 10 or more, even on the servicing, it drops by $1. 1 to 10 drops by $1. So then brings you down to 9, 15 plus brings you down to 8. And then the waste stations, 10 plus waste stations, drop down to 315 each.
What was
So-
that again? How many?
10 plus new waste stations drop down to $315. So if you're doing all 10 on waterway, drops from 345 to 315. Then 15 drops down to 295.
So the annual service fee is $5,200 for 10?
Yes.
Yes.
And then the install fee for the 10 is,
So it's free install, but
Ah.
you're purchasing the complete waste station.
so
Which
That'd be
34
3,150.
say again? What's
3150? If you
Yes,
get
if
10?
it's the 315, right?
Yes.
So it'd be 3,150.
3150.
Nah, so 3,000 effectively for the equipment and then $5,200 annually
Yeah.
after that.
Correct.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm looking at it.
Yeah, okay.
To me, it on the heels of the water testing and the fact that we're actually getting this great new path that will presumably encourage more people to, I mean, you got people walking up and down that all the time. I think it's the timing's probably never going to be better considering we're doing a new walking path and we clearly have a dog waste problem. That's like, we have very, yeah.
And this is, the 25th Street outfall is.
Right.
Right
Yeah.
off
I mean,
the
it's,
waterway.
it's all, yeah.
it's-
I mean,
That's all,
so
yeah. And
to
so
me,
is
this
36th
is
Street too.
I
a
agree.
good thing.
Yeah.
I would agree with that as
Yes.
well.
And when is the walkway going to be
Uh,
completed?
It will be completed this winter.
So before, like.
So is that by
Is that
January? What is your
There we-
definition?
here we go.
What's your definition of winter?
Okay,
Because
so-
right now it's pretty much
Depends on
winter.
what hemisphere you're in.
I didn't say the year. So bids come back the 31st of December. We are in a mad crunch to get them to do $1 million worth of work before February. That's a grant related thing.
Yes.
So there is pressure on the project to have significant progress by January. But all of that to say, I would say before April, it would be completely done and
Is-
wrapped up.
Is the price something that this committee can approve or does it need to go?
It's
We would
under
have to
10.
look at it. It is under 10, which is kind of a magic threshold, but it would have to be, I am thinking that there is an allocation for this group in the budget, and I believe that you're over it. So if it's within budget, and under 10, it is staff approvable. If it's not in the budget, which we would have to just look to see if there's, we'd have to see if there's room in the budget.
So if there's some way we could find $10,000 a year,
Going forward,
For recycling.
going forward, we would put it in the budget.
Right.
In kind of worst case, I would say it could be, if we determine there's not a place where it neatly fits in our existing budget, we would have the choice of either going through council and asking them to approve an unbudgeted expense, which they do,
is fishing
Or-
less budgeted for next year?
not next year. They are, so that is work. All that to say, worst case scenario, it would be in a budget that would be effective July
1st,
1.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I think this is a easy one from my perspective. We have a documentation that we have an E. coli issue along that path
Yeah.
due to dog waste.
Mhm.
And we're building a new path, which is going to increase traffic on the path, increase dogs on the path. I mean,
Yeah.
so
It's
we've
a
never
no-brainer.
been, we'll
Yeah.
never be better equipped to ask for the money if we need to ask for it. And if we have it, we have it.
Yeah,
I mean,
and going forward, it would be, I mean, if it's a recommendation of this group to do this, it would be tightly and neatly in the budget going forward, that annual expense. So
Yeah.
question is how to deal with it between now and July, if it's something you will want to pursue. And we'll figure that out and
Yeah,
report
and
back.
Douglas, I'm currently with my landscaping budget, using some of that money for some of the waste stations that we have at the rec center now.
Okay.
Because Deborah and I discussed it. It kind of was in that same
Yeah.
wheelhouse, but I think what we need to do, and this is just kind of talking about another situation that we've been finding since we've done we changed the beach sanitation where there's yellow barrels everywhere. Certain places, people haven't been doing the right things, leaving the dog poop bags where the can used to be in the dune. That might have been a problem because one was missing street side. So we're not 100% sure it was an anomaly that they just didn't want to drop it, or they were just dropping
Which-
it there.
which
It was
location?
23rd.
23rd.
So yeah, I've been discussing that with Susan Smith. So I haven't heard anything else, but the backup plan to having the garbage cans missing at the dune, just over the primary dune, or at the garbage cans were at the beach, was to put a dog waste station that would be serviced on those oddball ones that don't have a dual location can.
Yeah, I think that's,
So in that, it wouldn't even be the full cost because on those locations, we do have a dispenser
mhm,
and it's being serviced.
serviced
It would
already.
just be moved to the dune location
Okay.
and then they would have a waste basket on it and then they would do it. So that was kind of my backup plan if I saw that happening. And it's kind of happening a little bit, but I
Okay.
think we do need to provide that.
I
And that's
agree.
why I just brought it up here.
I'll tell
I
you from
agree.
experience what happens when there's no trash can and there's a dog waste station. Beer cans and the
Yeah.
other things end up in there, and then it ends up being full every day
Yeah.
because it becomes a trash can. So I'm not sure how to solve that, but
Yeah. I mean, we've,
The duty call
well, just the
receptacle becomes a beer can.
yeah, they've got them throughout Wild Dunes, and I've got a dog, and so there's a Dunkin' Donuts coffee cup and Coca-Cola can and 3 Budweiser cans at the top of the thing, and it's a trash can for
Yeah.
everybody. So
yeah, I mean, it would have a trash can at the street side too, but
Yeah.
that would be if somebody was willing to take that beer can past the duty
Right.
calls thing,
right.
bring it to the street on their way
Right.
out and drop it. So
Oh, my
So-
goodness.
So it sounds like this group is, and I think if you all are of a mindset to do it kind of as soon as practical and as
Yes.
budgeted,
Yes.
we'll work through the budget. So,
Yes.
Yes.
and we'll just report back if it's something we can do like instantly, or if we need to take it through a process with council, we'll figure that out in the next few days and be able to report back to you. But if you all would make a recommendation to
I would like to,
recommend this.
yeah, I'd like to make a motion that we make duty calls our duty. And
And
we
I
put in-
second.
Put in 10 stations and coinciding with the sidewalk project on Waterway.
And I second that motion.
And
Okay.
just kind of for the record, we expect it to be a startup cost of approximately
3150,
3,150
3,150.
for the purchase, and then
And $5,200
$5,200 annually from there
So
on.
around
So a total of
9,000.
8350.
83, yeah, 8350, almost 9. Okay.
In
All
a
right.
fiscal year, we'll let Deborah work it out. But
All right.
first year will only be a few months, so it'll be
Okay.
some other number.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Thank you. Does anybody have any new business?
You can't do that.
Can't do that?
No, can't do. You can't bring up new stuff that's on the agenda.
Okay.
That's on
All
the
right.
agenda.
Well, our next meeting will be next year, Thursday, January 9th at 4
Yeah.
o'clock.
January 9th is a Friday. So should be
Second
January
Thursday. January 8th.
So
Got it.
January
January
8th.
8th.
8th. Okay. Thanks for noticing that.
Good catch.
Is this Mary's last name?
Yes, it is.
Mary, we can't make you stay. You made it. She's
I
made-
think the committee is in excellent hands.
Wow.
And I think,
Thank you for all
Thank
you've
you.
done.
I've
She's
enjoyed working.
an
with y'all.
inaugural member and been an important part of this group for a long
Thank you.
time. And just been a pleasure to have you
appreciate that.
here and work with you. So
Thank you.
thoroughly appreciate all you've done for.
Absolutely.
Thanks so much.
You can
Thank
come
you.
back and make comments.
Yeah.
Yeah, if there's anything to do with animals or native plants,
We know where to
I'd
find
love
you,
to
Mary.
come back.
We know
And
where
I
to
do
find you.
plan to keep maintaining, with your permission, the garden at 7th Avenue as long as the water company will allow us to do
Yeah.
so, and to have the
Volunteers.
birds there. And I've been weeding, and I've transferred some plants from my yard over there just this week. So I'm enjoying doing that, and I appreciate that the city's still
Yeah.
supporting that. Okay.
Thank you, Mary.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mary.
All right.
Okay. We're adjourned.
See y'all next year.
See you all next year.
Yeah. Thank you, Cindy.
Off record.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, Cindy.